This video is brought to you by ExpressVPN. Protect your online activity today and find out how you can get 3 months free at tryexpressvpn.com/Mekel Kasanova. That's tryexpressvpn.com/Mekel Kasanova. For 3 months free with a 1-year package, visit tryexpressvpn.com/Mekel Kasanova to learn more.
Hey, this is Megan McDuffie. I'm a video game composer, recording artist, and music producer, and you're listening to Hawaii's #1 podcast, the Kasanova Podcast. Watch your step, trust your fear.
The Kasanova Podcast, the #1 podcast in Hawaii, is brought to you by these contributors on Patreon. If you'd like to see more content like this more often, as well as more podcast reviews, impressions, early access releases, live streams, and original content, then consider becoming a patron today. All right, and welcome everyone to another episode of Hawaii's #1 podcast, the Kasanova Podcast. I'm your host, Miguel Kasanova, and I'm coming at you with another phenomenal interview. And in today's episode, I've got the honor and privilege of interviewing the one, the only, the iconic, the sensational, international sensation, none other than singer, songwriter, producer, artist, and video game composer, the one, the only, Megan McDuffie. Now, you are definitely going to be familiar with Megan McDuffie because, one, she's the primary producer of the soundtrack for River City Girls, which was a smash hit internationally. And she's just a phenomenal artist, a phenomenal singer, a phenomenal producer. And her work just, it screams quality, just through and through. And if you're ready to invite her on and talk about music, her journey in the music industry, the gaming industry, and more, then I'm ready to do it. Let's go ahead and welcome Megan onto the show. All right, and welcome everyone to another episode of Hawaii's #1 podcast, the Kasanova Podcast. I'm your host, Mekel Kasanova, coming at you with another phenomenal interview because I have the honor and privilege today of having the one, the only Megan McDuffie on the show. Megan, go ahead and introduce yourself. It's such an honor to have you on.
Thanks so much. It's awesome to be here. I appreciate you having me on the show. Anyway, for those of you who don't know, I'm Megan McDuffie, video game and film composer and vocalist.
And how do people not know who you are? You're amazing.
Well, maybe more of them will now.
Well, with that being said, go ahead and plug your social media links and any projects you have in the works that the audience can definitely go and check out.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I'm kind of everywhere. So Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. I'm slowly growing a YouTube channel. There's not much on there right now, but yeah, basically just look up my name and you will find me.
Awesome. And let's tell us about yourself. Like what are some hobbies and interests and things that you like to do? Of course, music, but is there anything else outside of that you're passionate about? That, because I know, like, when you're doing music or any project or passion that you have all the time, there's got to be that Zen moment or Zen thing that you do that balances and recenters yourself. So what is that for you?
For me, that's a good question. A few hobbies I have are running, so I really like to jog, and another exercise heavy activity that I love is pole dancing.
Oh, wow.
And
you actually did some of that in your music video, and it was pretty awesome too.
Oh yeah, that was an actual exotic dancer that we got to do that pole scene, but it's a funny story. I started pole dancing because of that music video.
Oh.
originally the script had my character doing a pole dance, and I was like, well, shit, I have to learn how to do a pole dance if we're going to film this. But then the script got rewritten, and I didn't end up, it didn't end up fitting the scene, but I kept taking classes, and here I am about 7 months later, still doing it.
Awesome. I've actually got one of my friends actually teaches classes out here in Hawaii, and
nice.
it is a workout. She had me one day go, and she's like, Mekel, you want to try it? I'm like, look, I'm 6'2", I'm 210 pounds. I don't think that pole's gonna support me. She's like, get your big ass up there on the pole and get to work. She says it's a great workout. I'm like, I don't think. And then I tried it for like 2 weeks, and man, it is a workout. Like my core, my legs hurt.
Oh yeah, yes. Every time we learn something new, I will ache for several days.
So, aside from that, what else do you like to do?
I love playing games. I love movies. I love cats. So I have 2 cats, and they're the best things ever.
I have my cat's actually sitting right next to me. I would pick her up.
Oh, awesome.
She's in her moment where she's like, I just want to lay here, because right now we got this. It's typically out here in Hawaii. I mean, we have 3 different temperatures: it's hot, and hot as hell. And right now it's on the 3rd one, and so it's so hot that she just comes in here when I record because there's AC in here, and she's like, I'm just gonna lay here.
Yep, just flatten out and make the best of it.
Right. Oh, so what got you into music, and like what about it has you so passionate about it? You're very, very good at it. Very good. But I'm curious, what got you into it?
Yeah, it's just kind of one of those things that I've always gravitated to. So since I was, just able to walk almost, like I loved listening to music. I loved playing keyboard. When I was about 6 years old, I started actually singing and doing talent shows at school and stuff like that. So I don't know where it came from, really. It just kind of was there from the very beginning. And yeah, so I mean, all the years growing up through middle school and high school, I was learning piano and taking private voice lessons and doing choir and musical theater and pretty much as I could handle. Just being absorbed in it completely. So and yeah.
Ooh, I have to. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I just knew that I needed to, follow a career path in music, and I didn't quite figure out what exactly until college.
I was gonna ask, like, since you say you play piano, I'm also a musician and a singer.
Oh, rad.
When I was learning piano, I don't know if you had to go through this too, and I asked one of my other guests that's with the band Somerset, because they're pianists, and I asked them, I'm like, did they ever whack your hands when you got a note wrong? Because when I was learning piano,
oh jeez,
it's like I'm scarred. Like I can play piano, but anytime I just had that memory of like when I get a note wrong, my hands would get whacked, and I'm like, oh, F you, I don't want to play this anymore.
Yeah, that's not motivating. That's just scary.
Right.
I did not experience the hand whacking, thank goodness.
Oh, yeah, it was something like between that and when I was learning guitar and bass and violin, it's just, because I come from a musical family, and I think I'm the most musically not gifted in my family, but my mother was very, very much someone who said that, no, you got to learn how to sing. You need to play music. You need to do this. And then I look at my siblings. I'm the youngest of 6. And there's a 21, 22-year gap between me and the oldest. And I'm like,
crazy.
I don't think I'm quite as gifted. Let me just talk on a podcast on a microphone.
You're using your vocal talents in a different way.
Right.
Totally.
So, like, what are your aspirations for creating, your sound? Because your sound is so unique. I love the cyberpunk sound that you make in the synth. Like, how, like, what goes into it? What are your aspirations? How do you come up with it?
To be fair, I don't really know. Like, I don't know. I've always loved synthesizers and 80s film soundtracks, and I don't know why that era stuck with me the way it did, but it just did. I I probably have my friend to blame. In high school, she showed me Depeche Mode, and I was like, okay, this is it. This is my soul music. I have to get as much of this as possible. And I think that's kind of where some of my influences lie. But I just love the cyberpunk aesthetic. So I don't know. I kind of just do what feels right for me, and the result is what you hear.
What other genres inspire you aside from synth and cyberpunk?
What other genres? I mean, I listen to all flavors of electronica. Old school trance a little bit. I love trip hop and down tempo stuff like Massive Attack and Portishead. Mm-hmm. So yeah, pretty much the full gambit of electronic music, and also more traditional symphonic stuff. I love classical music, Mozart, Beethoven, Chopin. I pretty much listen to everything and anything as long as it's, well, I'll just put it lightly. I am not a huge fan of gangster rap or pop country.
No problem with that at all. I definitely feel like those two genres have definitely gone down in the last 10 years. I think music as a whole, it is something like I talked about in another podcast. I feel like, and this is coming from a musician's point of view when it comes to music, I feel like a lot of the creativity in a lot of mainstream music, it was already kind of low before, but I feel like it's just plummeted now. Like I can't turn on the radio. Like if I'm in a friend's car and they turn on the radio, I'm like, I can't listen to this for more than like a minute, if even that. It's just,
yeah, I'm with you.
it's just unoriginal. Like I don't know why that is. It's almost like it doesn't take more than like Fruity Loops and someone just talking right now to come up with music.
Yeah, I mean it's all about what's going to sell, and what sells is what people are familiar with. So you get the same stuff over and over and over again because, yeah, it's proven that people that are familiar with stuff, or things that are familiar, become more comfortable and more appealing. So
yeah. It's interesting too, because like when I think back to, the last couple great eras that we had of music within the last 30, 40 years, and it just seems like from literally the late 90s to early 2000s, that's kind of when you lost the distinct sound between musicians, artists, singers, because there was a point where everyone, if you heard a song or you heard a beat, you knew who that person that performed it was. It was a unique sound. Now it's like everybody sounds the same, and I'm like, like I said, as a musician, it's irking to me.
Yeah, well, there's definitely a formula, and if people keep buying it en masse, then they'll keep producing it.
Yeah. When it comes to like composing music and being in the music industry, do you have, to be like a composer or anything like that, is there any type of educational background you need, or if you're just good and have a gift with music, just jump into it?
Well, I did the full university deal, mainly because I wanted the college experience just to, do that. Whether or not it was in music, I wanted the social and the life experience of going to college. But I do think that it definitely gave me, how do I put this, like more confidence in my abilities to be able to compete. So, feeling like I knew everything I needed to know just in case. But that's not to say that people with no formal training can't do it, because there are definitely people, as high up as Hans Zimmer that don't really have a formal music education. So it's definitely doable. I just, for me personally, wanted that that reassurance that I felt like I was, on the right track, and the confidence in the skills that I learned. So,
what was the college experience like for you? Like as far as the classes and whatnot that you took, and the college that you went to, like how was that time for you? That fun? Was it stressful?
Both. It was fun and stressful. Yeah, college was great. I went to UC Santa Cruz. It was super, super fun. Santa Cruz is just a great town. Like, it's just super laid back. You got the redwoods, you got the ocean, great food, lots of fun surfer people. But yeah, it was awesome. And the classes were very challenging, especially in the music major. I don't even know how I did half the things that I was required to do, thinking back on it. We had some crazy stuff that we needed to do for classes, like be able to basically notate all the chords in a piece kind of on the fly. Just like, this is a B flat 7 chord. This is, a D half diminished major 6th or whatever. And be able to pick those out by ear. They made us do things like taking full orchestral sheet music and sight reading the score on piano. So like kind of transcribing it to piano and singing the melody. Yeah. Like on the fly. And I have no idea how I did that, but we did shit like that, and it's kind of mind-blowing.
My God, I can't read sheet music to save my life. When I used to be in a band, like a lot of people, like the guys in the group would they put out music on sheet, and they're like, "Mekel, play it." I'm like, can I just hear what it sounds like? 'Cause I can play by ear, but I can't.
Yep.
You had to do that, like.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was nuts.
No, it just goes to show how gifted you are. Like, that's not a common skill at all. That's amazing that you're able to do.
Well, I was able to do it then. Probably not so much anymore.
Oh, so what other things did you have to do at your college? Like, what was some of the other experiences that you experienced?
So let's see. The electronic music minor was super fun. That's kind of where we learned a lot of the more recording side of things and production. I got to, as sort of final projects for different classes in the minor, I got to choose different film scenes and kind of take all the audio out and then replace it with my own score and my own sound design. So that, to me, was maybe the most fun.
So.
Yeah, that was super fun. I like that part.
All right. So how going from college to getting into the music industry, like how did you get into, like, what was your journey into getting into the music?
Yeah, good question. So I had a little bit more schooling after my bachelor's. I did did some of the Berklee College of Music online stuff, and because I didn't quite feel like I got as much industry knowledge from, a UC school. It was great, classical training and music theory and all that foundation stuff, but I wanted more industry people. I wanted to know what I was in for, how to network properly, where to look for gigs, the paths that different people have taken. And I got a little bit more of that there, so that was good. And yeah, so originally I was like super into film scoring. That was my thing. And as soon as I graduated from my undergrad, I was looking for stuff anywhere and everywhere. So online, I was talking to people. I was, just, you know how it goes, I'm sure. Networking is everything. And word of mouth and referrals and all that jazz. So the first actual gig that I got was a tiny little short film, about 12 minutes long, shot by a local guy, and we actually found each other on Craigslist, of all places. So that was kind of my first foray into the composing for film and games world. From there, I don't know, I hustled. I kept going, kept networking. I'm still doing that. Every week I'm reaching out to people and expanding my network. So yeah, that was just the first little tiny step back in 2012.
Oh, awesome. And I think a lot of people don't understand how, or maybe I'm going to assume the audience doesn't. And like from our perspective, like you said, reaching out, expanding your network, word of mouth is so critical to what we do. It is super essential, because it's like, especially like being in the music industry, being a content creator or podcaster, you got to get your name out there. You know, people need to know who you are, and just because you produce something or you're really good at something, that doesn't really necessarily mean that you're going to get found or get known if you don't put in the work yourself. So it's
absolutely
that hustling part. It's a, it's a daily grind.
Oh yeah, every day, every week, I'm constantly thinking about different ways to improve that and where I need to spread seeds, you know. Right. So yeah, it's constant.
It's like there's never really a point where you get to a point where you're like, oh, okay, I'm good, I don't need to do anything. Like, no, you're constantly thinking, maybe I should reach out to that person. Maybe I need to get my foot in over there. I don't know.
Yep. Like, are there different places I haven't been yet?
It's a constant grind, especially when you're an entrepreneur such as yourself and myself. It's daily. It's daily. That there's, and you know, it's so funny because so many people tell me all the time. And I know we kind of went over this before we recorded this podcast, but you know, people say to me all the time, "Man, I can't wait to work for myself. I don't want to work for someone else." And I'm like, yeah, working for yourself is actually more work than for working for someone else, because you know, you're always going 100 miles an hour daily. And on top of that, I think there's a misconception people have when they think that when you're working for yourself, you're not working for anyone else. When you're working for yourself, you're working for everybody.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, you're trying to find people to work for. Yeah. Trying to get clients. Yeah, totally. Yeah. Then there's no off button. It's not like you go into your office job and then you come home and work is separate from your life. If you're working for yourself, half the time you're probably at home, or, you know, there's like there's less of a distinction between work and home. And the clock doesn't stop.
it never does. And it's kind of funny because the house that I have now, I got it back in March of this year, and I quit my job a couple weeks ago, and in the last couple weeks I've been just doing this full time. I've spent more time in my house in this time period than the entirety of the year that I've been here. And I was like, wow. Yeah, I'm in here. I'm recording. As you can see, I've got my neon lighting going on.
Awesome stuff.
Awesome. So for you, like, I also want to know, like, what is the recording process like for you? Like, when you start to create your songs, you know, from the lyrics, the composition, the chord progression, like, what is that process like?
Well, usually it starts with a brief or some sort of example somewhere to some jumping off point, because most of my work is for other people. So it's a game, a film, a trailer, what have you. And most of the time, the people in charge will have an idea of where they want me to go with it. So they'll have a specific sound that they want or specific mood, and that alone helps me find a direction. So I guess we'll use the game River City Girls, for example. When I first signed on with that project, they kind of had a handful of tracks, and they were like, this is the general style we want. You know, synth pop, basically, as an overarching term. Synth pop with, you know, different moods for all the different levels. So great. I had that to start from. And from there, just kind of was up to, I guess I start with sound choices. So if I'm thinking, okay, this is going to be a level in like a rich neighborhood, okay, or let's use a different example. Let's say in like a slummy neighborhood, I'm going to want grittier sounds, right? So pick my bass line, or pick my basically the sound choices. That often will spark something as I'm just going through patches and presets and getting an idea of the tone quality of stuff. That will usually spark melodies, and I'll just be like, okay, and I just go. So usually I don't start on lyrics until the entire track is done. So all the instrumental, all of it's laid out, composed, arranged, etc. The vocal melody will come after that, usually. Sometimes they're kind of at the same time, because I'll be working a bass line, and then I'll hear stuff in my head, and I'll be like, okay, that's the vocal melody. Have to have to record a scratch take of that right now so I don't forget. Yeah, so I don't know. It's sort of an organic process, and it's very different depending on what kind of music it is. But yeah, lyrics always come last. I usually don't have lyrics in my head until the melodies are all in place.
Awesome. No, because like I never would have thought that there would be like a template, like in the case of like River City Girls, because it just, listening to the soundtrack that you compose, it's literally, it just seems like you were just in this creative vibe, and then boom, 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 boom. There's, it's literally amazing what you've done with that soundtrack.
Thanks.
I'm like, I've had it on repeat since the game came out. I was like, God damn, that's
awesome.
This is, and it's something too, because and we'll go into this later, but after listening to what you did with the collab you had with Moonrunner 83, like I feel like you held out on us on River City Girls. It's just like God damn, I thought that was amazing, but boom, here you are with something like astronomically even better. It's just like, and it's really amazing what you do.
Thanks. Appreciate that. River City was such a fun project because they were like the best clients ever. They basically hired me to do my thing. It was like, we like your sound, we like your style. Here's a general guideline, and go.
So speaking of River City Girls, like, how did it feel, working on such an iconic franchise in the River City franchise? Like, you were the main composer for the OST. Like, how did that come about? Like, how did they, reach out to you, or how did you get the gig? If you're able to go into that.
Yeah, it's one of those networking is important stories. To harken back to what we were talking about. But yeah, that's exactly how it happened. I don't know if you're familiar with the Materia Collective, but they are a group of arrangers and orchestrators and composers and songwriters that love video game music. And I joined Materia Collective a couple years ago, and I don't know, I was just sort of involved with that here and there. When I could, I would submit a track to an album for, a game that I really liked. Like we did a Diddy Kong Racing one that was super fun. And we did Majora's Mask kind of more recently, and I definitely had to get in on that. Because that's one of the best games ever. And so just through that group, I automatically gained a giant network of people. And one guy, a really awesome composer named Dale North. I'm blanking on some of the stuff he's worked on, but he has quite a prolific catalog. Anyway, he was longtime friends with the people over at Way Forward. And yeah, he knew they were looking for somebody for this franchise and this game in particular. And, they said they wanted synth pop and sort of retro flavored electronica and upbeat stuff. And he kind of just threw my name at them, even though Dale and I had never met in person. We had never had any real connection other than we were in the same group of arrangers. Yeah. And he was like, oh, well, I know Megan does this kind of thing. Here, let's just throw it out there to Way Forward. And Way Forward checked out my stuff, and they were like, oh, yep, that's that's the person for this job. That makes perfect sense. Awesome. So I have Dale to thank for that.
Awesome. And
yeah,
I mean, with working on such an iconic franchise, like, were you surprised at the overwhelmingly positive response from the fans?
I was.
It's critically acclaimed. Like, your work was just that damn good. But how does it feel? Let me shut up and let you talk. Like, how does it feel for you? So,
I mean, I knew the game was I mean, I kind of looked into it before I really got to working on it. And I was like, oh, River City's been around a while. This is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I had heard of WayForward before, but I hadn't really, dived into any of their games or whatever, looked at their giant network of fans. I didn't realize how many people love their stuff, but they really do. And the longer I worked on it, the more excited I got. And yeah, I mean, up until the end there when they were starting to release teasers and stuff, it was sort of surreal how much hype this game was getting. And I got more and more excited as it went on. Like, oh wow, people are really gonna know this game. So that's that bodes well for the soundtrack. And then I was pretty happy with my work on it. I felt, like you said, where I got into a creative bubble and I just went for it. And that's totally how I felt at the time when I was working on this. So yeah, it was just super, super exciting, and I'm still pumped. And I keep getting messages from random people that tell me how much they love this music. So it really feels awesome.
I mean, and I feel like, your style, and not only that game, but the brawler genre. Sorry, I have but the brawler genre in general just goes hand in hand. Like when I was playing it, I'm like, yo, this gets me pumped up to crack some skulls. Game, mind you, but it really, like, each level that I went to, each area, it had its own unique theme, and it just fit, and it just flowed one into the other, and it was just truly amazing. Like, I have to ask you, like, what was your favorite song that you wrote for that project?
That's really hard because there are 50 of them.
Right?
Yeah, it was a beefy project. Oh man, that's so hard. I do have a soft spot for Bully. I think that is maybe my favorite vocal song. I don't know. I have different, they each hold a special different place in my heart. But Bully was one of the ones that I did kind of towards the beginning of the project. And
really,
it was one of the ones that came out the easiest too. It was like I found a bass line, and then boom, like everything just sort of came to me, and it almost wrote itself.
What?
I don't know. That one I was channeling something. Like it was a bit trippy. So yeah, that might be my favorite vocal piece. My favorite instrumental piece is maybe a tie between Payday and Azuke.
Nice.
Yeah, they're both super, super upbeat, and every time I hear them, I can't help but dance.
Awesome. I mean, again, an audience, you need to go and listen to the soundtrack. I'll leave links for that down in the description below the podcast. It's one of those soundtracks where when you hit play, you're gonna reach the end of it like an hour later, and then you're gonna be like, okay, repeat, and then repeat, repeat.
I've had a few people tell me that, like, I've had this on repeat for a week and I'm not sick of it.
Right.
That's good. That means I did my job, because if you're grinding away in the game, you could hear a song, 50 times. So hopefully, hopefully you don't get sick of it.
Right. It's just the work you did is really, really phenomenal on it, and it's amazing. Like, one of the other things too, I reached out to Kira Buckland and also to Greg Chun, Kunio and Kyoko, and one of the things they were saying too, like, they were shocked at how much of a positive fan reaction there was, because I think it's because River City was never in the West as big as it is in Japan. And it's like, whoa, people are latching onto the River City franchise, and then you got people going back and playing older titles. I feel like in the West, like, we know Double Dragon, which is the evolution of River City and within the same franchise, but now I feel like this was the jumping off point for a lot of people for the River City franchise. Like, if they're gonna make more, and there have been a lot of games that have come out, I think they were more obscure than River City Girls, but I think this is definitely gonna be a long running, especially in the West. I think we're gonna get more, and I hope, fingers crossed, you're working on each soundtrack going forward.
Oh man, that would be amazing. That'd be dream come true. I hope so too.
Speaking of video games, what got you into gaming? I know you said Majora's Mask, which I agree with you. That's one of the greatest Zelda games of all time. What got you into gaming, and what are some of your favorite games that you?
What got me into gaming? So I was a little late to the party. I think I was in middle school when the N64. Yeah, middle school when the N64 came out. And a few years after it came out, my dad brought one home because he wanted one. And, you know, we got some of the classic flagship titles like Mario 64 and Ocarina of Time and Banjo-Kazooie. And I fell in love. Like, those were so much fun. That was pretty much my introduction to console gaming. I had played on an old, you know, one of those gray brick original Game Boys. I'd played some of that at different people's houses and, you know, arcade stuff here and there. But N64 was definitely my first real system. And yeah, just that was it. Like once I played some of those, it was like, yep, this is super fun, and just kind of went from there.
Yeah, you know, and you and I we're from the same generation, and it's something I think a lot of the younger audience may not understand because they're growing up with PlayStation and Xbox and Nintendo. But for you and I coming up, it was an entirely different ball game back then because you didn't just have Sony and Nintendo, which at the time Sony was the new kid on the block. But you had Sega, you had at least 10 or 15 different consoles at one time. It was not like it is, you know how like now you get one game and it's on all three platforms and PC. Back in the day, it was way different.
Totally. I remember going to our local video store and Blockbuster and renting games because it's like, do I want to buy this? Is this, you know, because it would be for one system. Yeah.
It's crazy when you think about it too. Like, I know people talk about how expensive gaming is now. Like, oh, the game costs $60. I'm like, at least it's an industry standard across the board now. Back in the 90s, it was like 120 or more. That's why we had Blockbuster. That's why we had Hollywood Video, because it was not cheap.
Nope. And you couldn't order a used cartridge on eBay because eBay wasn't really a thing either.
Right.
Which is what I do now. Like, okay, I'll take someone's beat up copy as long as it works.
Right. Yeah, it's you know, it's such a different era. Like when I think back on it, I'm like, wow, man, it's changed a lot. There's a lot I miss from back then because I do miss a lot of the, you know, the creativity and originality in gaming back then. And I understand now like why they were way more creative then. No, not to say that they were more creative than now, but I feel like back then you had to do something different to stand out, whereas now a lot of games are pretty, there's a formula, I guess you could say. But I like the fact that there are companies like WayForward and Nintendo and Naughty Dog that eschew the formula and create original experiences.
Yeah.
We've come a long way.
Oh my gosh, I know. And in 30 years, it's gone from nothing to what it is now, which is, you know, cinema realism and
Right.
like full-blown orchestras instead of 8-bit, and yeah, it's pretty trippy.
I was talking to the lead designer for Remedy's Control
Cool.
when I interviewed him, and I was saying to him, I was like, man, isn't it trippy when you think back to how 8-bit arcade games were like, and home console games were like the standard, and that was considered like cutting edge, and here we are 20, 30 years later. Now we've got, you know, details and graphics where you can see the freckles on a character. You can see individual hair strands. They have motion and skin reflection. And it's like getting to that point, like, where are we going from here? Like, is it going to be to the point where we can't differentiate real life from gaming? And it's trippy. 30 years.
It's super trippy. Yeah. I still go back and play N64 games, though. Like, all the old games hold a really special place in my heart.
Oh, so one of the other things I want to pivot courses and ask you about this because I absolutely love Streets.
Oh yeah,
that music video was phenomenal.
Thanks.
You and Moonrunner 83, like you guys collabed and did that music video, and you played Siren in that video. Like let's talk about it. Like it was truly like watching a feature-length cinematic movie. You know, I honestly, I want to see more of it. Like, if I got to go and get a home mortgage to see more of it, like, can we expect, like, a continuation of that music video in the future? Because it was so damn good.
Thank you. It was so fun. I doubt there will be a sequel anytime soon, sadly, unless, like, we strike it big somehow. Okay, or somebody wants to do it because they love us so much. Yeah, that was an amazing project, and I'm so grateful I got to be a part of it. Yeah, I mean, once we wrote that song, I was like, something needs to happen with this. This is such a cool track. I think people are going to love it. And so Canada is awesome. I'll just say that. They actually have different grants for their artists and filmmakers. Seriously? And yes, seriously. So that video was paid for by the Canadian government. Which is why I'm super grateful that I had, the chance to be involved, because I'm not Canadian. I was the only non-Canadian on the team for that project. And yeah, so we got what's called a Story Hive grant, and they give it, I believe, to 40 different people, musicians and filmmakers, every year. And so yeah, we were one of the. We applied, we, it was, I think, split between a panel of judges and a popular vote. So we were kind of hustling for people's support last year. And we were one of the 40 that got a grant. And so we hooked up with this amazing team up near Calgary, Alberta. And yeah, we spent weeks and weeks, Skyping every Sunday trying to get all the details for this thing down, and costumes and, timing, and it was nuts. Like, it was so nuts. I felt so cool, like, getting on a plane, like, yeah, this is paid for. I'm flying up to Canada to be in a music video.
I mean, like, when I watched it, when you made the post on Twitter about it, and I went and watched it, I was like, holy fuck, is this going to be a movie? Like, I would totally... Like, it completely harkens back to when music videos told a story. And that's something I noticed a lot of music videos in the last decade and a half. They don't do it anymore. And it's like, it had the intro, and it felt like I was watching Blade Runner, And
that's awesome. That's what we were going for.
But I mean, everything from the acting, like, that's why I gotta ask, like, are you going to go into acting? Because you did phenomenally well with it. Like, the acting, the aesthetics, the camera angles, the cutaways, the lighting, everything was just top tier in that. So we need a sequel. Okay, so I will go out. I would love a sequel. I will go out. I will go get the home mortgage, and I'll get that loan, and then there we go. We're gonna work on the sequel.
Hey, if you know anyone that works at Netflix or Hulu or Roku, anything like that,
I do.
Please tell me, because we would love to pitch that as a pilot for a TV series, because I think that would be pretty dope.
I actually do know a couple folks at Netflix, so we will talk about that.
Okay. Let's talk about that later.
So I have to ask this as well. Like, is it bad for me to say that I need your music in Cyberpunk 2077?
It is not bad. That's great. That means a lot. I would probably die happy if that were to come true.
And you're gonna have Keanu Reeves walk up and say, "Hey, you're awesome."
I put your tunes on in my car, and they're so great.
Right. No, but I mean, for real, like, I'm definitely working on my end to see what I can pull as far as streams, because I think that needs to happen. Your music is that damn good.
Thank you. So. Like I said, that would be an amazing dream come true if that were to happen.
Yeah, awesome. You know, and
you never know.
Well, that's the thing. You never know, and like you said before, is when you network, you never know who knows who. So
that is true. I never answered your question about acting.
Oh, go for it.
Well, no plans to go into acting, at least full time. I would love more acting opportunities because it's super fun. I love being on camera. I did a ton of drama and musical theater when I was growing up, so I did a lot of stage acting. But yeah, the rest of the professionalism I owe to the incredible team. It's basically a brother team that did everything, like sound, editing, DP, color. Oh yeah, it's crazy. Two-man show for that whole thing.
I would think at least like 30, 40 people. Two?
Well, we had obviously other crew members and actors, but for the most part, like, yeah, it was mainly two guys that put all that together.
Oh.
I know, it's incredible.
Wow. Okay, wrap my head around that. I mean,
so if anyone's up in Canada, you should hire them.
Seriously, like I'm thinking, I'm like my brother and I'm like, we wouldn't be able to do that. We'd be butting heads on that. Like, no, damn it, put that back in. No, take that out. Okay, change the color. Yeah, we wouldn't. Like, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, I hope I get to do more stuff like it because that was simultaneously the most exhausting and most hilariously fun week of my life.
Well, I'm more certain that you definitely will be doing more stuff like that. So
fingers crossed.
You know, winding down to the last couple questions I have for you. One I want to ask is, are there any projects in the works that you are allowed to speak on? You know, barring any NDA. If there are NDAs in place, I understand. I'm currently under at least 17 of them right now, so I know how that is.
Of course.
So,
yeah, there's some things I can talk about. Let's see, what's on the top of the list? I'm trying to think here. Got a few things going on. Well, the main thing I'm working on right now is another Moonrunner 83 collaboration.
Okay.
Yeah, that's we're gonna put out some more original stuff with the album, with the label Fixed. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but they've been around a while.
They have.
Their lead guy and owner is Clayton, who is better known as Cell Dweller and Scandroid. I don't know if those ring a bell, but there's probably some Clayton fans out there. Oh, but yeah, so Moonrunner and I are collabing on another album, which should be fun. And I'm also working on some original stuff of my own, just to put out more music.
Awesome.
Yeah, because I don't really have an album that's just me, or wasn't for a project yet.
Do it. We need it. We need this to happen. The audience demands it. I demand it. Make it happen.
All right, just for you.
So that leads into my next question is when are we gonna see you out here in Hawaii?
Oh man, hopefully soon. I love Hawaii so much. I'm due for a trip.
I mean, you know, if you ever want to do a gig out here, I know I'm friends with the owners for a lot of the places out here that have from the Republic to Hawaiian Brian's to the Convention Center to the Blaisdell, which is where we have even Aloha Stadium, where we have all of our concerts for all the musicians and artists to come out here. So if you ever want to do a show out here, I can get you connected.
All right. Awesome. I will keep that in mind.
Yeah.
You know what's funny is Moonrunner is actually on Maui right now.
Hey.
Yeah.
Wow. No.
As we speak.
If y'all want to do a show, just let me know. I'll connect you guys.
Awesome. Appreciate it.
Yeah, anytime. So what advice would you give to the audience here that like to either get into music composition or the music industry as a whole or video game
Well, as maybe you have gleaned from our conversation so far, is that networking is key.
Cool.
It's really all about who you know. So meet a lot of people, make a lot of friends, because you want friends first, and then those things will develop into business things later. Like sometimes, it's appropriate to approach it business, end first, but a lot of times it's just making friends, connecting with people. And so that's kind of my number one thing as far as getting into music or composition or games, like any of that is networking, connections. And the second thing is just to be really diligent and persistent. Like if you don't give up, you will go places. Hone your skills, be confident in your abilities, and just keep hustling.
Is there anything that you'd like to leave the audience with before we go?
Just
the floor is
thank
yours.
you for being here and listening and watching, and check out my music.
Awesome. And I lied. I have one last question for you.
All right.
Did you have fun?
Obviously. Yes, absolutely.
Oh, awesome. And tell people where they can find you again, and I'll also be leaving links to all of your outlets down below.
Perfect.
And with that being said, this podcast will be available on all podcasting outlets as well as on youtube.com/Mekel Kasanova. It'll be available also on twitch.com/Mekel Kasanova, and also on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio. I have to count because I always forget. Spotify, iHeartRadio, Deezer. Shocked I have Deezer, but I have Deezer. Coming soon to SoundCloud and SiriusXM Radio. So it also is syndicated on the radio 104.3 out here in Hawaii, as well as syndicated on Samoa, Tonga, Tahiti, New Zealand, and Australia. Also.
Amazing.
So.
That's a lot.
Right. So with that being said, this is Megan and myself. We are signing out, and we will catch you guys on the next one. Hey, did you enjoy this episode of the Kasanova Podcast? Well, I'm sure you did. And since you did, and you're wondering where else you can find it on every podcasting outlet. Yes, that includes Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Launchpad DM by Podcast One, and so much more. And the only thing I ask of you is if you truly enjoyed it, even if you didn't enjoy it, please leave a rating and tell us what you thought of it, what you liked, what you didn't like, and everything in between. And also, if you're looking for video formats of this podcast and many more, you'll be able to find them on youtube.com/Mekel Kasanova, as well as on twitch.tv/Mekel Kasanova, and new episodes every single Monday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So, with that being said, this is Mekel Kasanova, Hawaii's favorite YouTuber. I am signing out. You guys have a great one.